At my wedding, the one where I was supposed to become his wife, Ethan Moore was about to play a video on the big screen, one he had carefully prepared as a gift of love for me. But halfway through, an unexpected phone call came in. On the giant screen, 2 bold words appeared. My love. Except, that wasn't my number. Our wedding took place at the Cloud Pavilion Hotel. Ethan stood on the stage wearing the dark gray suit I had personally chosen for him. He was giving his speech while friends and family below laughed and applauded. I smiled too, until I noticed Emily Ross sitting quietly in a corner, her head bowed over her phone. Ethan and I had gone to the same university. He was the one who had pursued me for 5 years before we finally became a couple. Emily, on the other hand, was his childhood friend. According to Ethan, they had known each other since they were toddlers, back when I still wore open-crotch pants. He used to joke. They were as close as family. Before the wedding, Ethan and I had fought many times, usually because of her. Because of Emily's phone calls at 2 in the morning, crying about something or another. Because of their weekly private dinners that, according to him, couldn't be skipped. Every time we argued, Ethan would pull me into his arms, his voice both helpless and gentle, coaxing his jealous fiancée. She's just like a sister to me, he would say softly. The only woman I want to spend my life with is you. After that, he deleted Emily's WeChat account right in front of me. I thought he finally understood where to draw the line. When the wedding reached the part where we exchanged rings, the host skillfully guided the atmosphere, asking us to share our love story. Ethan took the opportunity to talk about the video he had spent so much time preparing. The lights dimmed, and the video started playing on the large screen. A montage of our 5 years together, all the laughter, the tears, and the promises we had shared. But midway through, the screen suddenly froze. An incoming call appeared. My love. And once again, it wasn't my number. The entire hall fell silent. The host gave a forced laugh, trying to ease the tension. Ethan's face changed slightly. He quickly hung up the call and disconnected the screen. For a brief moment, I caught the panic in his eyes, but he quickly composed himself and managed a faint smile. It's just a spam call, he said lightly. I've been getting those a lot lately for some reason. A chill spread through my chest. Just then, Emily looked up. She raised her glass toward us, her expression bright and innocent. Congratulations, Ethan and Rachel, she said warmly. I'm really happy for you both. She tilted her head back and drained her glass in one go. The motion was a bit too forceful, and some wine spilled from the corner of her lips. She let out a soft ouch, grabbed a napkin to wipe it, but accidentally knocked over the glass in front of her. Red wine spread quickly across the white tablecloth, blooming into a dark, blood-like stain. Ethan immediately jumped down from the stage. In just a few steps, he was beside her, bending down to dab her dress with tissues, his face tight with worry and his voice full of concern. How could you be so careless? Are you okay? Your dress is soaked. Emily let him fuss over her. Then she looked up at me, her eyes glinting faintly with something unreadable, though her tone remained soft and gentle. I'm so sorry, Rachel. You just looked so happy that I got emotional and ended up ruining your big day. All eyes in the hall turned toward them. The air was thick with whispers and speculation. I stood on the stage in my expensive wedding gown, the diamond ring on my finger sparkling under the lights. Yet I felt like a stranger at my own wedding, standing there, silently watching the man I was about to marry lose all composure over another woman. Taking a deep breath, I reached for the microphone from the host's hand. Ethan Moore, I said, my voice echoing clearly through the speakers, steady but cold. Who's the one saved as my love in your phone? Ethan froze, looked up, and frowned. I told you already, it was a spam call. Rachel, today is our wedding day. Are you really going to make a scene over something so trivial? Trivial? I gave a bitter smile and took out my phone. Really? Then let me call back and see which spam number somehow shows up as my love. I held up my phone, ready to dial. Ethan straightened his back. Ethan's face darkened completely. That's enough, Rachel, he snapped. How long are you planning to keep this up? He took a few angry strides back toward the stage, trying to snatch the phone from my hand. Stop making a scene here. I stepped away from his reach, my gaze shifting toward Emily Ross, who sat pale and wide-eyed below the stage. Ethan Moore, I said evenly. You know very well who's really making a fool of you tonight. It's her. Emily's eyes instantly filled with tears. She looked as if she'd just suffered a great injustice. Seeing that expression, Ethan suddenly lashed out, his hand sweeping across the champagne tower beside him. The glass pyramid collapsed with a shattering crash, echoing through the silent hall. Pale gold champagne and sharp shards of glass scattered everywhere, just like the trust between us, shattered beyond repair. Rachel, he barked, his voice trembling with rage, it's just a damn contact name. Why did you have to blow it out of proportion today of all days? Are you trying to humiliate me? To humiliate my entire family? The man raging in front of me felt like a stranger. Once he'd deleted Emily's WeChat without hesitation just because I'd said I didn't like it. That man seemed like an illusion now. The more agitated he became, the clearer my intuition grew. But I didn't cry. I didn't scream or fall apart the way he'd probably expected. The diamond ring glittering on my finger suddenly felt unbearably heavy, like a shackle. Ethan, I said quietly, I don't want to fight with you anymore. He froze, clearly not expecting my calmness. I didn't look at him again. Instead, I turned to the guests watching us with stunned expressions, and I bowed deeply. I'm sorry, everyone, I said steadily. I've made a mess of things and embarrassed you all. The wedding ends here. Without another glance at Ethan's ashen face or the hand he reached out to stop me, I straightened my back and walked off the stage. My heels clicked against the floor, crushing spilled champagne and broken glass beneath them, making a brittle, cold sound. As I passed Emily, I paused for a brief second. She flinched and instinctively stepped back. I looked at her and gave a faint, detached smile. He's yours now. Then I turned away, walking straight past the curious, pitying stares of the crowd, and left the banquet hall. Behind me, I could hear chaos breaking out. Ethan smashing more glasses, Emily sobbing as she tried to stop him. Please, Ethan, don't be like this. It's my fault. I'll go talk to Rachel. I'll explain everything. The scene must have been a pathetic mess. I didn't go home. That place was filled with memories. Every corner still carried traces of our life together. Going back there would have suffocated me. So I checked into a small hotel nearby instead. I turned off my phone, cutting myself off completely from the outside world. I didn't sleep all night. When morning came, I finally turned my phone back on. Dozens of missed calls and unread messages poured in, most from Ethan and my parents. Ethan's texts ranged from furious accusations, "What the hell do you want? Pick up the phone, we need to talk," to one final tired line, "Come home, stop making a scene." I didn't reply to a single one. Instead, I opened WeChat and went into a private group chat that Ethan shared with his closest friends. The same group I had secretly joined under a fake account the night before our wedding. As expected, the group was buzzing. Someone had posted photos from last night, Ethan surrounded by his friends, head bowed as he drank glass after glass, trying to drown his frustration. Emily sat beside him, timidly handing him a glass of water. The red wine stain on her dress was still clearly visible. There was also a voice recording. It was from Jason Hall, Ethan's best friend, laughing as he said, "Man, Emily really scared us with that little stunt last night. But hey, don't take it too hard, Ethan. Women, you just gotta sweet-talk them a bit and they'll come around. If you can't win her back," one of the guys in the group said, "then just pick Emily instead. What's the big deal?" Someone else chimed in, "Yeah, that's right, Ethan. Emily's been following you for years. Or better yet, why not just have them both?" Then Ethan sent a voice message. His tone was harsh and irritated. "Shut up, all of you. There's nothing between me and Emily. Rachel's just making a scene for no reason." "Nothing between you two?" Jason Hall snorted in another voice note, his voice dripping with mockery. "Come on, man. Who among us doesn't know what's really going on? You two only ever fooled that idiot Rachel. She's the only one who bought your act." A second later, that voice message was deleted. I stared at the screen, my chest tightening until it hurt to breathe. So in that group of his closest friends, what happened between Ethan and Emily wasn't a secret at all. Everyone knew. Everyone except me. I was the only fool still believing I had a perfect love story. I took a deep breath, forcing back the tears burning in my eyes. This wasn't the time to cry. I called Thomas Reed, the private investigator, and gave him every detail I had about Ethan and Emily. Once I'd finished, I packed up my things and went back to the apartment Ethan and I shared. He wasn't home, probably at work or hiding somewhere else. The place still reeked faintly of champagne and perfume from the chaos of the night before. Near the entryway, the wedding favors we'd prepared for guests sat neatly stacked, beautifully wrapped little boxes that now looked painfully ironic. I began gathering my belongings. Anything that wasn't mine, I left. Anything that used to be mine, I cleared away completely. When Ethan finally came home, the stench of alcohol hit me before he spoke. The moment he saw me packing, his face darkened. "Rachel, haven't you done enough?" he growled. "You stormed out yesterday, and now you're back just to pack your stuff? What the hell are you trying to do?" I zipped my suitcase closed, stood up straight, and met his gaze calmly. "Ethan, let's end this," he laughed bitterly. "Over a damn contact name? Are you insane?" I started pulling my suitcase toward the door. "You know perfectly well this isn't about a name. The wedding's already off. In a few days, we'll sign the divorce papers, and after that, we go our separate ways." Ethan's expression twisted. He lunged forward and grabbed my wrist tightly. The heavy smell of alcohol washed over me. "You think marriage is a game? You say it's over, and that's it?" Newsflash, Rachel, I'm not agreeing to that. I tried to pull away, but his grip only tightened, painfully hard. His eyes were bloodshot. "I've been patient with you, haven't I?" he spat. "You humiliated me in front of everyone yesterday, and now you have the nerve to talk about breaking up? I'm warning you, don't even think about it. You'll stay right here, behave yourself, and once things settle down, we'll get married like we planned." Looking at him, so cold, so shameless, whatever feelings I had left for him completely died. "Marry you?" I said quietly, my voice trembling with disgust. "So I can spend every day watching you and your sister Emily put on your little love show right in front of me? You might not find that sick, Ethan, but I do." His face twisted with fury. He raised his hand as if to slap me, but stopped halfway. "There's nothing between me and Emily," he shouted. "You're the filthy one. You twist everything into something ugly." "Really?" I sneered. Shaking off his hand, I pulled my phone from my pocket and opened the photos Thomas had sent me earlier that afternoon. I held the screen up in front of his face. In the photo, Ethan and Emily were sitting across from each other in a high-end restaurant. She was smiling as she fed him dessert with a spoon. Ethan leaned forward slightly and took the bite right from her hand, his eyes full of tenderness. The timestamp on the photo showed it was taken 3 days before our wedding. Ethan's face instantly darkened. I looked straight into his eyes and asked, clearly and coldly, "Ethan Moore, is this what you call innocent?" He stammered, "Rachel, that day she wasn't in a good mood. I just had dinner with her to comfort her, that's all." "She wasn't in a good mood, so she fed you dessert?" I scoffed. "Save your excuses for someone stupid enough to believe them." I didn't look at him again. Pulling my suitcase behind me, I walked out without once turning back, leaving behind the place that used to hold all my dreams about a home and a future with him. As the door closed behind me, I heard a loud crash from inside, something breaking. But inside my heart, there was nothing but a strange, icy calm. I checked into another hotel. Ethan didn't contact me again, maybe because that photo had silenced any defense he might have tried to make. A few days later, the private investigator sent me a thick envelope. Inside were even more photos, proof of how close Ethan and Emily really were. They went to late-night movies together, strolled through home decor stores, even spent time at an apartment under Ethan's name where Emily was seen coming and going frequently. I flipped through each photo, the dates clear, the images sharp. My heart had gone numb to the point I couldn't even feel pain anymore. So while I had been busy preparing for our wedding, lost in the illusion of happiness, they had already been sneaking around behind my back. I organized all the evidence carefully, made several backup copies, and was about to contact a lawyer to discuss divorce and asset division when my phone rang. The number was unfamiliar. I answered, and a soft, trembling voice came through the line. "Rachel, it's me, Emily." I frowned, not wanting to deal with her. "What do you want?" "Rachel, please don't be mad," she said in that same fragile tone she always used. "I just want to explain what happened between Ethan and me." I cut her off sharply. Emily, there's no one else here, so you don't have to pretend anymore. Whatever's between you and Ethan, I don't care to know. Don't call me again. I was about to hang up when she blurted, "Wait, Rachel? I called because I'm pregnant." It felt like my heart plummeted into a bottomless pit. Even though I had suspected it, hearing it from her own mouth hit me like a physical blow. I forced myself to stay calm. "Congratulations," I said flatly. "The father's Ethan Moore, isn't he?" There was silence for a few seconds, then a soft, broken sob. "Yes, it's him, Rachel. I'm sorry. I wasn't going to tell you, but Ethan, he really wants this baby." I gripped the phone so hard my nails dug into my palm, so even now, Ethan refused to let go. It was obvious he wanted to keep me for the sake of Moore and Wynn, the company we built together. He wanted the legal, obedient wife for appearances, while hiding Emily and her child in the shadows until he drained me of my worth. Then he'd throw me aside and replace me. A perfect move, really. "Emily," I said coldly, "if you're pregnant, then you should be talking to Ethan, not me. What do you want, my blessing for your baby?" No, it's not like that," she said quickly. "I just thought you should know. The baby, it was an accident. Ethan feels so guilty, Rachel. He's been blaming himself non-stop. Please, could you forgive him this once? You two have been together for so many years." A wave of nausea rose in my throat. I hung up before she could finish. One act of betrayal can never be undone, especially not one that creates a child. I took a deep breath and called Ethan. The line rang for a long time before he finally picked up. His voice on the other end was calm, unnervingly calm. "Hello?" I didn't waste any words. "Emily is pregnant with your baby, isn't she?" I said. "She told me herself." It happened when I was drunk. I didn't mean for it to happen. I was almost incredulous that he could still spout that worn-out excuse. "What are you planning to do, Ethan? Marry me while she carries his child on the side, hide her away, and raise the baby in secret?" I asked. "What do you even think I am? What were 5 years of us worth to you?" "Rachel, give me some time," he begged. "I'll handle it. I'll fix everything." The word love coming from his mouth then was so ironic it made me want to vomit. His love had become cheap. "Go tell the baby's mother to keep you then," I said, cutting him off. I wouldn't listen to another word. I hung up and blocked every number he had. For the first time in days, the world went silent. I watched the city lights outside my window and felt a cold, stony numbness settle in my chest. 5 years of love undone by a single stab. Strange as it felt, when the worst outcome was finally clear, I also felt strangely liberated. Fine. Dirty things should be thrown away. But I wouldn't stop at humiliation and betrayal. I would take back everything that belonged to me and make them pay for what they'd done. No sooner had I blocked Ethan than my phone exploded with calls from my mother, her voice frantic and chastising the moment I answered. "Rachel, how could you be so foolish? Ethan has such good prospects. How could you throw it away? You embarrassed the whole family at the wedding. How will we face our relatives?" Her words only iced my heart further. This was my family, and all they cared about was face and the marriage alliance with the Moores. No one asked if I felt humiliated. When I told her, "Ethan's wife is cheating, Emily's pregnant with his child," the line went silent. After a few seconds, my mother, incredulous, muttered, "That can't be. Ethan's so mild-mannered. Are you sure this isn't a misunderstanding? Emily isn't that kind of girl." I told her I had photos of the two of them going into the apartment, and I had an audio recording of Emily admitting she was pregnant. "Do you want to hear it?" I asked. My mother fell silent again, then mumbled reluctantly that we couldn't let this go. 5 years of youth deserved compensation. We couldn't let that vixen profit. The reality was brutal. Once saving the relationship was impossible, they immediately switched to calculating losses and gains. I knew what I had to do. I hung up and massaged my temples, tired and resolute. I wasn't going to forgive them easily. Not for money, but because I wanted to reclaim everything that was mine and make them pay for what they'd done. I contacted a lawyer and handed over all the evidence I'd collected. After reviewing the files, the lawyer adjusted his glasses and declared, "Mr. Moore committed adultery during the marriage and even has a child by another woman. That's a serious breach. In terms of asset division, You will have a clear advantage, especially since you have proof he used marital funds to buy luxury items for Emily and to pay the deposit on that other apartment. Miss Rachel, these pieces of evidence are thorough, he said confidently. We can request that the other party be limited or disqualified from sharing the marital assets, and we can demand substantial compensation for the emotional damages. Fortunately, Ethan and I had co-founded Moore & Wynn. Although he was the legal representative, I controlled most of the operations and cash flow. Over the years, we'd accumulated significant marital assets, and I would not allow that money to be used to support him, Emily, and their child. I would make sure they paid. The next day, after the lawyer's letter was served, Ethan changed his phone number and called me. The line rang, and the moment I picked up, his voice came through. His voice rose like a wild animal. Rachel Titch, you actually hired a lawyer to force me out with nothing? Are you insane? That company is my life's work. I laughed coldly. Ethan Moore, if it weren't for the deals I brought in, the designs I stayed up nights on, and the bookkeeping I pinched pennies to keep, your so-called life's work would have collapsed ages ago. You used our joint money to support your mistress and let her get pregnant to spite me, and now you stand here talking about passion? He was silenced by my words for a moment, then ground his teeth and sneered. Fine. Rachel, you're cruel. You want money? Fine, I'll give you money. But the baby Emily's carrying is hers. I have to take responsibility. If you dare touch her or that child, I won't let it go. Don't be ridiculous, I said coolly. I have no interest in touching her. I hung up. I knew whatever last scrap of feeling remained between Ethan and me had been torn away. All that was left was naked self-interest and mutual hatred. What surprised me most was that Emily still had the nerve to show up in front of me. That afternoon, I had met a client at a cafe near the studio. When I stepped outside, there she was across the street, wearing a loose dress that showed the faint curve of her belly. The moment she saw me, she hurried across the road toward me. Sister Rachel, she began. I frowned and was about to walk away. Don't be like that, she pleaded, reaching as if to grab my arm, but I pulled away. I know you hate me and you hate Ethan, but the baby is innocent. It needs a father and a proper home. She took a breath, as if summoning courage, and continued. So could you give us a chance? You and Ethan can't go back anyway. Why fight over assets? That money is what he worked hard for, and he'll need to support the child later. Her logic was absurd enough to make me want to laugh. Emily, that money was earned by both of us, I said. Every penny is sweat and blood I put in. On what basis would I hand it over to you two to raise an illegitimate child? Her face flushed and her eyes reddened. Rachel, I always thought you were kind and generous. I didn't expect you to be so cruel. I looked at her icily. Kind? Generous? You expect me to be the fool they use and trample? Cut the act, Emily. Your tears work on Ethan, not on me. If you're so wonderful, make him voluntarily give up all his assets for you. Don't come here and play moral martyr. My words left her speechless. She only clutched her belly and cried, looking like someone who'd just been mercilessly bullied. A few passers-by had started to stare. I didn't want any more of it, so I turned and began to walk away. Suddenly she stepped forward and grabbed my arm. Rachel Titch, don't get ahead of yourself. Ethan softened for her. He won't leave her for you. If you dare make him leave with nothing, I swear I won't let you get away with it. I yanked my arm free so hard she staggered and had to brace herself against a lamppost, her face ashen. Are you trying to stage a scene? She hissed. I snorted in contempt. Emily Ross, stop the performance. Keep going if you want. I'm watching. I didn't look back. I walked straight to my car. Through the rearview mirror I saw her still standing there, eyes full of hatred, following me. I knew perfectly well that with Emily's temperament, she wouldn't give up so easily. I didn't expect her revenge to come so fast or be so vicious. A few days later, while I was driving to the lawyer's office, I stopped at a red light at an intersection when a motorbike suddenly lost control and crashed hard into the driver's side door. The impact rang in my ears. The airbag exploded out and slammed into my face in an instant, leaving me dazed. Everything went dark, and my chest bucked with a stabbing pain as if my ribs had been broken. The car window shattered, glass sprayed across me, and in the blur I felt something warm running down my lower body. My lower belly clenched with waves of ripping pain. A terrifying thought flashed through my head. Could I be pregnant? I tried to reach for my phone, but the shock and pain made me completely immobile. As my vision started to clear, I saw the motorbike rider stagger to his feet, glance toward me, then mount his bike and speed away. People around us screamed. Someone called for an ambulance. Then everything went black. When I came to, I was lying in a hospital room thick with the smell of disinfectant. My whole body hurt as if it had been broken. My lower abdomen felt hollow and agonized. My best friend, Tara, sat beside the bed. When she saw me open my eyes, her face flooded with tears and she grabbed my hand. "Rachel, you're awake. How do you feel? Don't be scared. You're okay." My throat was hoarse as I asked the question that had been burning inside me. "The baby. It's gone, isn't it?" Tara's tears came faster. She nodded, choking out the words. The impact was too strong to save it. The doctor said I had been about 6 weeks along. I had lost a child I hadn't even known I had. The police came quickly to the hospital to take a statement. They checked the traffic cameras at the intersection and discovered the motorbike had deliberately accelerated into my car, an attempted homicide. The motorcycle used fake plates. The rider wore a helmet and his face couldn't be seen, and after the crash he disappeared from the camera's view. The police asked me if I'd had any recent conflicts with anyone. I didn't hesitate. My mind went straight to Emily. I remembered her hateful eyes and her threats. That day I told the officers everything connected to Ethan and Emily, including Emily's threats. The police opened an investigation and summoned both of them for questioning. In front of the officers, Emily cried as though the sky were falling and insisted she knew nothing, even accusing me of framing her out of jealousy over her pregnancy. Ethan stood next to her with a sullen face, telling the police and me, "There must be some misunderstanding. Emily is too timid to hire someone to kill." Watching them cooperate so seamlessly made my skin crawl. I forced myself to endure the physical and emotional pain and told the police calmly that the truth would come out after an investigation. I requested they check Emily's recent communication and financial history. Perhaps even heaven could not bear it any longer. During the inquiry into Emily's social circle, the police discovered that a distant cousin of hers had recently received an unusually large sum in his bank account, and this cousin had a prior conviction for motorcycle theft. After interrogation and handwriting comparison, the cousin finally confessed under pressure. He said Emily had paid him to stage a traffic accident to intimidate me, to knock me into the hospital for months. He hadn't expected things to be so severe. The evidence was clear. Emily had no way to deny it anymore. She was officially arrested and charged with intentional assault and attempted murder. When the police handcuffed her, she completely broke down, thrashing, crying, screaming, "It wasn't me. Rachel forced me. She stole my man and wanted to take all the money too. She deserved it. Losing her baby was karma." Ethan stood nearby, frozen like a statue, as he watched her being taken away. He slowly walked toward my hospital bed, his voice hoarse. "Rachel, I never thought she'd go that far. The baby, our baby." "Shut up." My voice was cold as ice. "Ethan Moore, you don't deserve to mention that child. If you had controlled yourself, if you hadn't indulged her, would any of this have happened? Now you want to pretend to be sorry, for whose sake?" He lowered his head, buried his face in his hands, shoulders trembling in defeat. Because the evidence against Emily was overwhelming, the case moved quickly. She was sentenced to 7 years in prison for intentional assault and attempted murder. On the day of the verdict, Ethan came to court. He sat in the gallery watching as Emily was escorted away by officers, his face dark and lifeless. He never once looked at me. That was how things ended between us, tragically, finally, completely. As my health slowly recovered, the lawsuit over the division of assets officially began. Perhaps it was guilt, or the despair from Emily's arrest, or maybe he simply realized that the evidence in my hands left him no room to fight. Whatever the reason, Ethan stopped resisting. He agreed to a settlement almost immediately. In the end, nearly all of our jointly owned assets, including savings and the apartment he once bought for Emily, were awarded to me. Ethan left with almost nothing, keeping only an old car and a small amount of cash. After signing the final papers, I stepped out of the courthouse. It was drizzling. Ethan stood on the steps, no umbrella, rain soaking through his hair and suit. He looked pale, empty, and broken. His lips moved as if he wanted to say something, but I didn't give him the chance. I opened my umbrella and walked past him without a single glance. "Rachel," he called softly after me, but his voice was swallowed by the rain. I never turned back. Everything from the past, love, hate, and even the unborn child was gone, washed away in the cold rain. I left the city that had witnessed both my laughter and my tears and moved to a small southern town. The climate there was warm, life quiet, and unhurried. I used the money I'd kept to open a little flower shop. My days became peaceful, simple, and whole again. Every now and then, mutual friends would mention Ethan. They said he had quit his job, left the business world, and wasn't doing well. I just listened quietly, feeling nothing. Some people are born only to pass briefly through your life, to leave a scar or a lesson, and then disappear. When the sky turned clear again, the flowers in my shop bloomed in full color. I lifted a watering can and tended each stem gently. Sunlight poured through the glass window, warm and soft against my skin. And in that moment, I knew my new life had truly begun. Ethan's point of view. I used to believe I had everything under control: my career, my relationship, my life. I thought I could juggle it all, keep everyone happy, and still come out on top. But when Rachel walked past me outside that courthouse, her umbrella open against the rain, while I stood there drenched and hollow, I realized I'd lost everything that ever mattered. The company, the money, the house, none of it meant a damn thing. What really broke me was the emptiness she left behind. I can still see her walking away, calm and unshaken, the way she used to be when she'd finally made up her mind about something. She didn't even look back, and that was when it hit me. I wasn't part of her life anymore. I was just a bad memory she was determined to erase. The nights after that blurred together. I'd come home and stare at the walls, at the half-empty closet, the faint traces of her perfume that still lingered in the air. Every memory of her felt like punishment: the laughter, the warmth, the quiet mornings over coffee. I used to take all of it for granted. I thought she'd always be there, forgiving, waiting. But she wasn't. I told myself I didn't love Emily, that she was just someone who needed me. But the truth is, I was too weak to draw a line, too selfish to see how much it was destroying Rachel. I blamed her for being jealous, for being controlling, when all she wanted was loyalty. I thought I was the reasonable one. Turns out I was the coward. When Emily was arrested, I should have felt something: anger, disbelief, maybe even relief. But all I felt was a crushing kind of emptiness. I remember seeing Rachel's face in court. Pale, calm, untouchable. She didn't even look at me. That hurt worse than anything Emily ever did. Now, I live alone. The company we built together is gone, her name wiped from the walls, but it still feels like every corner whispers her name. Sometimes, I drive past her flower shop. I never go in. Through the window, I see her arranging bouquets, sunlight spilling over her shoulders. She looks peaceful, happy in a way she never was with me. I stand there for a while, watching her from a distance, then leave before she can see me. I don't deserve to interrupt her peace. They say time heals everything, but it doesn't. Some wounds never close, they just learn to stop bleeding. If I could go back, I'd tell her the truth, that I was weak, that I was sorry, that I loved her more than I ever admitted, but I can't. Life doesn't give second chances, only consequences. So I live with mine. Day after day, haunted by the sound of her voice, by the child we never got to meet, and by the woman I drove away, the only woman I'll ever love.